going to race today. So a lot of unknowns for all of us. It should be very, very interesting to see how this race unfolds. We didn't qualify that great, but I know we've got a good race car. We always run well here. We always have a good balance on the car. Plus this track, it's one of those tracks where it's really a driver's track because you have to get get speed. You can find different ways to get it by running different lines. You can run the bottom, you can run the middle, you can run way up against the wall. So you'll see us searching all over the place, and it should make for some great racing, 3 wide, 4 wide maybe racing. So should be a lot of fun to watch from where you guys are sitting, and hopefully a lot of fun from where I'm sitting as well. What's going on, Curry?
Oh man, just entertaining these guys, waiting for you to get here. They've been on pins and needles waiting for you to get here this morning.
They have?
I told you guys how much he appreciated you guys. I told you. Jeff, you raced last week on a track that's notoriously slick. And you come here, there's grip for days, and it's a lot faster. How do you adjust to that?
Well, there is grip in some ways and not in others. This is a track where it's got a lot of maintenance. So last week's race in Vegas, pretty flat racetrack. This one's got a lot of maintenance, so you're carrying a lot of speed. But the actual grip of the racetrack, I would say, is similar to Vegas. It's going to definitely eat the tires up, and you're going to have to manage that. But the biggest difference is just how wide the groove is here. In Vegas, all of us were nailed down the bottom of the racetrack. A couple guys could run a little bit higher. But here you're just going to see people all over the place. You might see us starting out to run on pressure tires, and the tires have a lot of grip right down around the bottom. But then as that grip goes away, you just got to keep the momentum of the car up, and that usually starts taking us up the racetrack, especially down here 1 and 2. You start seeing a lot of guys running right up next to the wall. And so once that groove moves up, that's when we're going to start fine-tuning on the car to get the balance, where we need to be for that groove that we think is going to be there for the majority of it.
Well, speaking of tires, your teammate came down here and tested earlier in the season. How do you take that knowledge and apply it to your race car?
We definitely get all that information that they gathered during that test, and we apply it accordingly. Obviously, we come here with a baseline setup, and since they did test, we started with a pretty close setup, and then as practice goes by, each driver has to give information back to the team to get the balance that they want. Because just because one setup works in one car doesn't mean it's going to work in another car. It doesn't matter whether we're here, Daytona, or even a road course. That they don't always go hand in hand. I would say that our setups are fairly close this weekend compared to most tracks. And it's probably because those guys did test here, and they've been running really well at these types of racetracks, and so we're going to try to use some of that information and hopefully benefit from it.
Excellent. Well, we know you're pressed for time, but we got some really good questions from some of our guests. Mark Walters from Lawrenceville, Georgia.
Hey, nice to meet you. You got a question for me?
Yes, sir. I know the qualifying and impounding rules like they have now, Friday night, I know the track's a lot different than it's going to be today. Did you set your car up Friday night for qualifying, or did you set it up for race day today?
Obviously, we set it up for race day because it certainly didn't qualify very well. A little bit of an error on my part qualifying. The track had a lot more grip in it than I really thought. We'd been loose all day long because we were setting up for the race. We knew we'd have to start out a little bit loose so that as the fuel burned off, the car would tighten up and come to us. And on my qualifying runs, I'd been fairly loose. And when I went out to make that run, I could have definitely pushed a little bit harder to go faster. So yeah, we're definitely set up for the race. We spent most of the day. We made, I think, 2 qualifying runs. Other than that, we were on old tires, getting the balance of the car for the race. But even then, the groove was never moved up the racetrack. We were all right around the bottom. It was cool. So things are going to change a lot today. You're going to see, if you have scanners, you're going to hear a lot of screaming and yelling going on about what the car's doing, because it's going to be it's going to have a lot less grip. Balance is going to be out there. You're going to see a lot of adjustments going on in the pits. Good question. Thank you. Appreciate it. Nice to meet you. You got a question?
My question was, does fuel mileage typically play a factor at a speedway track like Atlanta?
Absolutely. Fuel mileage plays a factor really everywhere we go. It just depends on how the cautions fall. What we typically do is during practice, on Friday, while we're tuning on the car, trying to adjust the car, the engine, there's an engine tuner that's working on the carburetor, talking to me a lot about what the engine's doing. We're pretty much stuck now with our gear. We have a gear rule that NASCAR just implemented this year, so we can't really change gear to try to get better fuel mileage. But we can fine tune on that carburetor, read the spark plug, make sure we're not leaning the engine out too much where we're going to damage the engine. And then, once we get out there and we make a run, I'll try to do whatever I can during the cautions to try to save fuel. But then they get a reading after every pit stop that the team gets a reading of how good our fuel mileage is, and lets me know if we're as good as the other competition, better, worse, and if there's anything I can do to maybe help fuel mileage. Very good. Very good.